jobs, tasks. Jonathan then took us through a whole litany of practical examples of where probably everybody is using AI on a day-to-day basis already, that's embedded in technologies that people use day in and day out. Again, reducing time, taking the mundane out of everyday tasks. And then finally, yes, David, obviously, the rear guard brought it all together with a fabulous introduction to the booklet that's been written, the playbook, sorry. And I highly recommend that everybody downloads that. Great read, good reference for everybody to have free of charge. And again, volumes of data, you can't analyze and use these volumes of data without AI. I mean, that's a fact, right? That you can't use any other way. You can't use macros in Excel or anything like that. This has got to be AI, and you've got to uncover and raise up the dark data that exists in every single organization and start to make use of that. And I think today has been a really fantastic way of explaining and helping people on this journey that everybody's venturing in. And I'll shut up now and open the floor for any questions. Does anybody have any questions? Are you all really tired? Has your brains exploded? Any questions, anybody? Oh, we've got one, thank you.
So it's more of a comment really, and be interested to get the reaction of the panel. Not to get too hung up on an AI roadmap or having to put processes in place around AI, isn't it more important that we step back and look really at digital transformation of our industry and AI just being an enabler? It's open to whoever wants to.
I personally couldn't agree more. I think digital transformation is the primary objective of everything else that we are doing, be it digital twins or AI to complement. If we don't get our data strategy right, none of that is going to happen.
Does anybody else want to go?
Yeah, I mean, I can second that. I mean, 100% agree also with Anand that, yourself up. I mean, AI, is like we were talking before about, having a hammer, and then if you have a hammer, you see everything as a nail, and then, it's not going to be that, like the solution to everything, There's some much simpler things, that can be like a better solution for that specific problem that you might be having, anyone could be having. But like that digital transformation is definitely, like a first step. And then obviously AI is not even the enabler, but it's just a part of the ecosystem of that digital transformation, because it might not be AI the right solution for that given problem, but AI could just be one of them, in the whole ecosystem of the digital transformation process.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think when you're looking at change or transformation generally, it's really looking at the problem that's worth solving, and then technology may or may not have a role in it. But the reality is that technology is such a big part of our world now that it will.
Can I say maybe a yes and a no, if I can? So it was interesting. So from the yes piece, when we looked at the CIB map, it was definitely part of that Industry 4.0 digital transformation. But then when we went out to spoke to some of the micro SMEs, if you like, just the very small organizations, they said, actually, we're not thinking about transformation. We've got certain things in our organization that are broken. They're giving negative value. If you can get it up to positive value, I'm not bothered if you can transform me, but if you can get my business, workflow that's maybe failing and it's negative, and get me back to positive, that for me is a great starter. I'm not worried about transformation of the enterprise. I just want to get maybe one or two things within there. And I think sometimes it's, it's always what's appropriate and proportionate to an organisation, I think is one of the big things. I agree, it's definitely part of the overarching, but sometimes for the SME, just helping them solve a particular problem, and then once you get that problem solved, you can take them to the next part of the journey and get them more into the transformational part.
I actually have a question on that. That's okay. Just depending on the size of that company, if those companies are so small, is moving the needle, is that really transformation for them, even if it's one or two things? That impact could be quite.
Yeah, it's interesting as to what people see as being transformational, is it?
Yeah.
But I'll tell you what we did see, and I think it was really interesting, the SMEs could move faster than the bigger players. And I think some of the opportunity to actually transform the longer term, I think the SMEs, they're a bit like speedboats, aren't they? They're trying to change, a big, I was working for a main contractor, and to change it by half a degree of its course was 2 years. Mm-hmm. But when you go in to speak to an SME, they can change it very quickly in a matter of days and try something. They're more up for being curious and experimenting, as opposed to, you got a big organisation, someone else does AI, you've got to speak to about 20 people within there. So I completely agree, and it can be, very game changing for them in terms of what that looks like.
And I don't think we should forget what John mentioned earlier on in the day around change management as well. This is not just about technology and digitisation. This is about bringing the organisation on the journey and making sure people understand exactly how their role has changed and how they need to deliver business, how business processes change, how steps are taken out of business processes. Because that, is part of the journey in terms of transformation. Every example has been about saving time, removing mundane tasks, allowing people to do what they enjoy. I forgot who said that. Don't take away what people enjoy, take away what they really don't like doing, the mundane stuff. So I think that's part of it as well, which is, part of any transformational journey. Any last questions before Alan's hovering? Oh yeah, one more. Thank you. Sorry, Alan.
Hi, it's Trina from Barming. I just have a query for Jonathan. When you were saying there about using the emails and taking the information and shoving it into ChatGPT, and then the ACC would then generate a form, outlining what the issues were or whatever. I'm just wondering, all your data is going into that. Are you not concerned about private, maybe commercial information going through, being able to, because obviously if it's in ChatGPT, it's open, so anybody can source it if they ask the right questions. And I think that's probably a big concern for most people who are starting out in this journey.
Yeah, very fair point. And what I'll say is that was an example using ChatGPT. So I suppose the solution to that would be to have your own data model that's secure and safe with your own information that could then connect into ACC. So securing your own information entirely important. So maybe doing that outside of ChatGPT certainly is something to look at.
So like Copilot or something, is it? It's in Microsoft.
Correct, yeah. Where you have control of
and everything.
Yeah, where you have control of your own
Right,
data will
okay,
be quite important. So very fair point. So okay.
Okay. Sorry, I have one more question for Caesar. Just about, it was very interesting, very, very, obviously they were all great presentations, but just very interesting. I'm an architect myself, so I thought it was very interesting to see how it's generated with Enscape and all of that, and the software you were using. Obviously, when you were putting in the information to get all those different iterations of what was possible on the sites, presumably, they were all the one level. They were all kind of similar shape. So I presume, can you put in data that would make it, higher in certain areas, that kind of thing? Different, of those building blocks, then you can go into more detail, can you?
Yeah, absolutely. We work with different data structures. So one of the things that we do computationally is like fields conditions. So those fields conditions are also affected by the context. So if a part of the context would be lower than the other one, then we could have started manipulation like that. So that geometry. But what's overall important is that, we leverage these algorithms, but then it's also the human at the end that is going to take the decision. So one of the things that we found out, because at the beginning we were starting to lay it up, let's say a system or a generative system that would output, and then the solution was not always as good as the one that the human would produce. So what we started creating is basically that our system could just be quickly editable by the architect by saying, okay, let me just then, just quickly move these ones up or remove. And then, it becomes more a design tool in that sense, or a manipulation that is a design assist tool more than just a takeover, as Claire was mentioning, our architects are going to lose it. No, not at all. It's just going to make their life easier. Hopefully, in that sense.
All right. No more burning questions? All right. So on behalf of everybody here, I would like to say a huge thank you to Alan and Suzanne and the CitA team for bringing us all together. For me, this has been a most enjoyable and very informative day. So thank you, Alan. And thank you to my esteemed speakers as well. Thank you.